Welcome to Life After Fame podcast. Just imagine 70,000 fans cheering your name when you've scored the winning touchdown. Imagine standing on stage looking out at the crowd, rocking out to that chart-busting song you created. The applause and recognition you received for your masterful acting performance in that latest blockbuster movie. And then, one day, the cheering stops. This podcast is all about catching up with these stars of yesterday to find out where they're at now and who they are as people, beyond the stardom. This is a true human interest podcast about the people we loved to root for. And now, your hosts, Joe Mastriona and Joe Boglino.
Welcome to Life After Fame podcast. Today, we have the privilege of hosting Bridger Walker and his father, Robert. Bridger's incredible story of bravery and selflessness captured the world's attention, leaving an indelible mark on our hearts. Let's delve into the heartwarming tale that unfolded in the summer of 2020. At just 6 years old, Bridger, a young boy from Wyoming, displayed extraordinary courage when he saved his younger sister from a vicious dog attack on July 9th, 2020. Without a moment's hesitation, he stepped between his sister and the charging German Shepherd mix, enduring severe bites to his face and head. Despite the danger, Bridger's unwavering determination allowed him to shield his sister and lead her to safety. Following the incident, Bridger underwent emergency surgery, requiring approximately 90 stitches to his face. The extent of his injuries was evident, but it was his selflessness and bravery that truly shone through. When asked why he risked his life, Bridger simply replied, "If someone had to die, I thought it should be me." His profound words spoke volumes about his character. Bridger's aunt, Nicole Walker, shared his remarkable story on social media, which swiftly went viral. People from all walks of life were deeply moved by his extraordinary act of heroism. Celebrities and public figures, including renowned actors and sports stars like Chris Evans, Anne Hathaway, Hugh Jackman, Bo Jackson, and Mike Tyson, just to name a few, were among those touched by Bridger's courage. They reached out to him personally, offering messages of support, encouragement, and even promising him gifts and unforgettable experiences. Bridger's story resonated with countless individuals worldwide, making him a symbol of bravery and selflessness, especially among children. He received numerous accolades and awards for his extraordinary actions, including being recognized as an honorary Avenger by Chris Evans himself. As a token of appreciation, Bridger was presented with a special Captain America shield, solidifying his status as a true hero. Bridger's incredible journey continues to inspire and uplift millions, reminding us all of the transformative power of love, courage, and defending others. His selfless act remains an everlasting beacon of bravery in the face of adversity, and his story will forever serve as a testament to the extraordinary potential within each and every one of us. We are so excited to have our special guest today on Life After Fame, Bridger Walker and his dad, Robert Walker.
Today on Life After Fame, Joe, we have a superhero in our midst. And the story that's attached to this superhero is one that's inspirational, and especially in the 24-hour news cycle that we are just hammered with bad news. We've got a really great story today. Today, we'd like to welcome Bridger Walker and his father, Robert. Guys, welcome to Life After Fame.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. We're grateful to be here, and we've enjoyed our past conversations, and we're looking forward to this evening.
As are we. So thank you so much for taking the time with us. I wanted to start with, once this event happened to you, Bridger, can you talk about some of the most memorable experiences you've had since? Because you've been rubbing elbows with Hollywood a little bit. You've had some great trips, and we'd really like to know, what are some of those memorable experiences that have come out of this heroic deed that you did with your sister?
So one of them was we they invited our whole family to go out to Dubai for a week or two.
Wow. That's a pretty cool trip. Did you enjoy Dubai? I've never been to Dubai. I heard it's an amazing place. You liked it. What was your favorite thing that you did out there, Bridger?
Ferrari World, or seeing the Burj Khalifa.
The tallest building in the world, right?
Yeah.
Who brought you out there? I mean, so your story has gone global. Obviously, this is on the other corner of the planet. Who brought you out there?
I have no clue.
It was Yaz
Details, right? We don't care. Yeah, right, Bridger? You didn't care.
Nope.
Yeah, Yaz Island, they have an experience group that helps plan these things, and one of the head officers of that group heard Bridger's story and decided, hey, we'd love to have the family come out. And it was right in the midst of COVID, so it postponed the trip a little bit, but we were able to make it out to Abu Dhabi and Dubai for about 10 days. And they paid for flights, paid for hotels, and it was really a wonderful experience.
Yeah. What else have you experienced? Who's reached out to you? Because I know you've had some pretty big names. Which ones stick out? And I know that you had a lot. But which ones have stuck out to you the most, buddy?
Tom Holland.
Okay. Yeah. Spider-Man. Yeah. Tom Holland.
And Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr. Nice.
And quite a few Marvel superheroes.
I think that Robert had sent a video to you and told you to call him on your birthday. Did you call him? And
No.
What was that like, and what happened there?
We called him, but right before my birthday, the person, his agent or whatever, passed away right before my birthday.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
oh, wow.
His personal assistant, I think his name was Jimmy Rich, had a car accident. He was our point of contact, and it was, not kidding, 2 days before Bridger's birthday.
Wow.
So,
wow,
it would have been poor form for us to reach out.
Sure,
yeah,
sure, yeah.
But it was shortly after Robert sent that video. He did call, and we video chatted with him for a couple hours, and he sent a really nice little care package to Bridger.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't on his birthday, but he did fulfill his promise to send Bridger something pretty special.
Very
That's
cool.
really neat.
What about Tom Holland? Did you get to do anything with him? What did he do? Did he send you a Spider-Man suit or something?
He sent us the mask to one of the movies. And he gave us a call and invited us out to Georgia to stay there for a week because that was during COVID. But we got to go to the set for Spider-Man No Way Home.
Wow, what an experience. That's so cool.
Now, I believe that we heard somebody, and I'm not sure who this somebody was, gave you a dog in the midst of all this. What kind of dog, and who gave you the dog?
It's a pure American Pit Bull Terrier, and her name is Cyborg, and Chico gave it to us.
Chico Lopez is the name of the breeder, and he flew Cyborg up from Brazil, and we met at Chris Cyborg's last boxing match in Omaha. And Chris Cyborg, the MMA fighter, was the one that actually gave Bridger the dog from Chico. So the puppy's name now is Cyborg.
Awesome.
Now, what did you guys feel about this gift? Obviously, because of what happened, were you a little hesitant, or did you feel pretty confident that the dog was trained or that kind of thing?
Well, the puppy she was 8-9 weeks old when we got her. And of course, there's always trepidation. And as parents, you'd love to pad the world so nothing can harm your children. And especially when something has hurt your child, post-traumatic stress is real. And we could really go far that one way of just sheltering them from ever having an experience with that thing that hurt him ever again. But I think that just compounds the tragedy, because I think it's important for kids to grow up with animals and around animals, and it builds character and responsibility. And we certainly did a lot of research before accepting the gift.
Sure.
We talked to the breeder multiple times. He's assured us that his dogs, he's been doing this for 20, 30 years, and not once has any of his dogs ever harmed a human. And we learned there's a big difference between American bullies and American Pit Bull Terriers and a number of the other bully breeds. And American Pit Bull Terriers are the nanny dogs of the early 1900s, and they're really bred to be family dogs. So we did hours and hours and hours of research. We've had trainers come in and talk to Bridger and work with Bridger on how to train animals. And really, we thought it would be a great opportunity to empower him as opposed to compound the fear.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Robert, because one, it would have, in my opinion, taken some of the bravery that Bridger showed in the moment, stepping in front of his sister, but then shying away and running from not having a dog, I think would send a message to him that you need to be afraid. And he wasn't afraid. And I think that's just my opinion. But I, as a father, that's exactly the choice I would have made as well. I think that you don't want to run from fear. You want to step right into it. And yeah, you honor him and his bravery by doing that. So I think that was an awesome choice. And it sounds like your dog Cyborg is working out. And is she playful? Is she jump on you and kiss you and lick your face? Awesome. Puppies are always good. Yeah.
Go ahead, bud.
And she's really strong.
She's strong. I
bet. Those dogs are all muscle. Right? How much does that dog weigh now?
30.
I bet she's 25, 30 pounds. She's going to max out probably at 40 to 50. She's not going to be one of
She's not that big.
Yeah, American Pit Bull Terriers really do stay smaller.
Gotcha.
We certainly got comments when we announced that we had gotten a dog from.
Yes, of course.
It's a very divisive issue where there are people that just hate the breeds. Mm-hmm. And then there are others that celebrated with us this opportunity for the kids to grow. But we got comments that were very hurtful from people saying, the next time this happens to your kids, I hope you're proud of yourself. And how dare you expose your children again, another dog that could cause them harm. And
oh my gosh.
Well, I've just worked with enough experts in my professional career. I'm an attorney, and I've worked with psychologists and therapists. And when you're in a car accident, there's post-traumatic stress and the fear of getting in a car again and driving again.
Sure.
But it's not healthy psychologically or emotionally to avoid the thing that caused you harm with the belief that it's going to cause you harm again. We think that would just be a tragic way to live your life, to run from anything that's hurt you.
I agree. 100%.
Robert, you have a lot of support here from us from what you just said. I think there's a whole adage that is said that if you're knocked off the horse, you have to get back on it. That's not a new saying. And I do think that by jumping back on and exposing your children, your whole family to this dog helps ease that type of trauma that you guys felt. I wanted to ask you about PTSD. We talk about a lot of issues here. One's relative to transitioning, but what has your family what can you guys relay and share with us around your journey through PTSD and recovering from this event? And is there any advice and tips that you can share with people who may be going through the same themselves?
It's been interesting because about once a month, somebody will reach out to us and say, my family has a child that was just attacked by a dog. Here's pictures of their injuries. What do we do? And the first thing we always focus on is hope. That right now it feels like there's no end. It feels crushing. It feels like it will never get better. And we just focus on hope that it will get better. It will take time. It would be disingenuous for us to say, oh, here in a week, you'll be fine. Just get over it. It takes work and it takes time, but there is hope. And we really, for us, it was focusing on the small miracles first and acknowledging and recognizing each of those small miracles as they came. For me, the first was recognizing and realizing how close we were to losing Bridger or his little sister or both. And that it really, truly was a miracle that this dog didn't take a life that day. And then the next miracle for us is we're sitting in the ER. And my one prayer is that after realizing he's going to be okay and survive, that there wouldn't be any nerve damage, because there's 5 main nerves that run right through his cheek. And the injury was bad enough. It was completely through, all the way to the bone, all the way up to the top of his cheek. And if any of those 5 nerves are severed, you can get more of the palsy look. And we were really worried that he'd lose his smile. So for us, the next miracle was a couple days later, as the swelling goes down and his cheek starts to creep back up and become symmetrical again. And then seeing him over time become more and more comfortable with dogs was another little miracle. And then, of course, all the acknowledgement and positivity and support we received from around the world when the story went viral, that positivity was a miracle for our family. So for us, it was really not losing hope and focusing on the small miracles as they came and acknowledging them as they came and counting those as a blessing.
And I think that's great advice that you're giving, not just people that have had similar incidents, but anything in our lives, right? There's always something good that we can find in those moments of darkness. And I think you guys just chunked down small little pieces of miracles, and you really focused on the positive. And I think that's amazing advice that any of us can take. So Bridger, do you feel like a hero, bud? Do you feel like a hero?
Not really anymore.
Not really anymore. Yeah. Did you feel like you were a hero at the time?
Kind of.
Yeah. I consider you a hero, and I consider you a brave young man, and obviously loving and caring. You cared about your sister enough to step in front. Robert, talk to us about the neighborhood, because in that moment when the incident happened, has the neighborhood or the neighbors, has it changed things for you guys?
The dynamics did change, and I think it was for the best. The family that owned the dog ended up moving.
Sure.
They were going to be moving anyway. So they weren't family that the kids would go over and play with a lot. And it just so happened during COVID, they didn't go over at all. And it was during that period that the dog was introduced to that household, unbeknownst to us. Everything was left on good terms. We made it a priority as a family for us. And we promised them that when the story went viral, we told them, we're going to do everything we can to make sure your name stays out of it. Every story needs a villain, and you're not the villain, and we're not going to make you a villain. Sure. And that was one of the most important things for us, was to protect them from any backlash. So we did what we could. Since the family's moved, we really haven't had any contact, but we don't hold any ill will or bad feelings, because bad things happen. And
Yeah.
They do, but I'll tell you, that's amazing that you don't harbor animosity. And I find that so admirable because, in a sense, that's better for you guys. In a sense, it's an act of forgiveness, which releases. You could sit here and just be so angry over what happened there. And it sounds like, and maybe you've had those moments and no one would fault you for it.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're talking in such an open way about it, I think is tremendous, because all of us engaged with trauma, and it's what we do with it afterward that really makes the impact. So that's really fascinating. How did this whole event end? Can you share how this thing stopped when this happened to Bridger?
We don't necessarily have an entire picture beginning to end. From what we understand, the dog's owners, the parents of the household, ran outside and were able to separate the situation. And we were close enough that we heard the crying, and I ran out the front door to get to the friend's house, knowing that parents recognize their own children's cries, and we were able to get there right away. And by the time we got there, they were applying pressure to his cheek and had already called for emergent care. So we never got a complete, full picture on how things were separated in the end.
No.
We didn't want to rub salt in the wound by interrogating the neighbors.
So, Robert and Bridger, the incident happened. He had like 90 stitches, right?
92.
92 stitches.
92.
Yeah, that's a lot. What was the recovery like? Were you able to get a lot of ice cream? I hope so.
Yes.
Did they give you a lot of ice cream? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the good points, right? How long did it take for the recovery? Well, how long was that, bud?
Like about 2 to 3 months was how long it looks too bad. But after that, it was looking a lot better.
On the aftermath, what was your reception at school and around your neighborhood and those types of things?
Oh, we didn't really go out for a while. We only really went to school. By the time it was already pretty healed, because we were homeschooled at the time.
Yeah, it was right in the middle of COVID again. And that first semester back after the injury, it happened in July. And then school was up in the air, whether it would be remote or in person. So we decided to do a semester of homeschooling. And then the semester after that, when they were actually back in person, everybody was wearing masks. So it was really a year and a half later before he started walking around school. And by that point, his cheek had really healed quite well.
Most of the videos that we've seen of you guys have been of you two. And I'm wondering about the relationship between son and father and what this has done between the two of you guys. I mean, it has to have bonded you, but talk a little bit about how this has affected the relationship with the family dynamics, and especially between you two.
It hasn't really done too much. We still do like play catch and we spend time quite a bit, but nothing changed too much.
Yeah, it was really interesting. After the accident, I took Bridger. He's a huge rock hound, loves gathering rocks. And we decided to go rock hounding in central Wyoming, out in the middle of nowhere. There's no cell service, no anything, and just to get him away. And in one of those quiet moments, we're kicking around the hills, trying to kick up some fun rock. And I asked him the question, how has this changed things for you? Does it make you feel more special now that you're getting some of this attention and notoriety? And he said, no. And the question I asked him was, what makes you special then? And he turned and looked at me and he said, well, Dad, I am me. And I appreciated that. he was recognizing that his inherent value, his inherent worth, wasn't necessarily in how the world perceived him, but that it was in just who he was and what he liked and just his nature. And he's really kept that level head throughout. And we've tried to keep that same approach with all the kids in the family, that Bridger's not more special now than he ever was. And they're not less special now than they ever were. Yeah. Because we know any one of our children would have done the same thing for any of the others. For example, it was about a year ago, Brielle, younger sister, was at a local park with our youngest son, and somebody was walking by with a big dog. It was like a 125-pound dog. And they were quite far away. But Brielle, the little sister, jumped in front of little brother and put both arms out and said, "Stop, don't go towards that dog. He looks dangerous to me." Wow. And it was a bit of an epiphany for me that she cares as much as any of the kids about keeping her siblings safe. And that's really been our approach. Is I think it's what he did was heroic, and we're so grateful that he was there. But at the same time, we think it would be harmful for a child to define their entire life by one act and lose their nature, lose their character, because it's swallowed up by an image that they feel like they have to maintain.
And Robert and Bridger, this podcast is, we interview a lot of professional athletes, former professional athletes. And one of the biggest struggles for those guys and the gals that we interview is the identity of the player that they were. And now that their jersey is hung up, who are they? I know a lot of those guys do struggle with that at the end of their careers or after their careers. So kudos to you and dad and mom and family, because we are more than just one act. We're more than, hey, I am a lawyer, I'm a professional player. We're more than that. And so that's awesome that you're learning that from a very young age, and just always remember that and keep that. That's amazing stuff. And I do want to mention this as well, because he's one of my favorite players of all time. You got to meet Bo Jackson, who I think is one of the greatest players of all time, one of the greatest athletes. So tell me your relationship with Bo. How is that? What's Bo like?
So he flew over to our house, and he gave me and Brielle bikes and trophy. And then we custom bikes and trophies, and he signed some jerseys for us. And then we hung out for a couple hours or so, and he asked if we would call him Uncle Bo. And he tries to, and he told us to try to call him every month, but we've just been so busy we haven't gotten to call him in like 10 months, like almost a year.
Hey, Bridger, you got to, he'll be there. And you know what? You got to be really busy to not call Uncle Bo. You got to call him, at least for me. Tell him that Joe M said hi. He won't know me, but you say, Joe M said to call you, Bo, and say hi. But yeah, that's really cool. I'm so excited for you that you've gotten to be able to meet some of these amazing people and stars and good human beings too, because they reached out to you, and it sounds like Bo's an amazing guy. So that's awesome. Robert, talk to us about the story.
Yeah, we get to the ER, and Bridger was trying to figure things out and work things out. He, as you can tell, he's got a really good memory for facts and for retaining information. And when we ask him about the ER, he remembers the person that was next to us on both sides. One was a drunk guy that couldn't find his pants, and he kept yelling for his pants. And on the other side, there was this gal screaming and yelling, asking for help. And Bridger kept asking me, where does she think she's at? Where could she go for more help than in the hospital? So he's trying to process all this information. I think he's in shock a little bit. And he keeps asking me, am I going to be okay? Am I going to die? And of course, I'm trying to reassure him, trying to process everything myself. It's hard to process trauma when you're in the middle of it. I'm observing the wounds. I'm trying to figure out from the temperament of the emergency professionals whether they perceive this as catastrophic or how they're perceiving the situation. But more than anything, I'm keeping the strong facade and trying to make sure that Bridger feels safe. There was one point in time where the pressure built up in his scalp where he had a wound, and it started fountaining blood. And he's panicking a little bit, and Dad, is this normal? And we call a doctor, and they say, yeah, that's normal. And then once things kind of settle down, we're talking, and I asked him what had happened. And after he had explained what had happened, I asked him, well, why didn't you just run? And in that moment, he turns and looks at me and he says, Dad, if somebody had to die, I thought it should be me. And in the moment, again, I'm trying to keep a strong face, strong facade. That was hard to hear, that he was thinking that he had to do that. As I've reflected on what he said over the years, I think what he was saying was, I'm uncertain as to whether I'm going to survive or not, being here in the ER, and I'm glad it's me and not little sister. And I think that's what he was really trying to express there. And he had never been around a dog that would cause him harm before. He's always been a huge animal lover. So in the moment, did he think when he gets in front to protect his little sister that the dog is going to bite him and potentially kill him? Probably not.
Right.
He probably thinks, oh, maybe it'll just knock us down. Maybe it'll bite my arm or something. I don't think he processed to that degree that it could kill him. But in the ER, I do know that he was processing, I might not survive this, and I'm glad it's me. And I think that's a courageous statement, to face the unknown
Absolutely.
possibility of death as a child.
Yeah.
And find gratitude there that it's not your little sister.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of this story. And I don't know, do we really ever know how we might react to something like this? And there's a number of choices. You can run, you can do what Bridger did, and he decided to act. I guess I've never thought about how I would react in such an event. And when you think about how you reacted, Bridger, and also the fact that this world can be pretty tough, but when you demonstrate such courage from an innocent place and such generosity because you gave up your life, it's amazing the gifts you get back from people all over the world and the compassion that you've had. We've done quite a bit of research on you, and what's amazing about it, a majority, I know that, Robert, you had mentioned that you had gotten some backlash because of this dog that you were gifted. But the fact of the matter is that when you can demonstrate that type of generosity, boy, you get it back. You really do.
Tenfold.
And it was shocking to us, too. We never contemplated the outreach from the world, from complete strangers. And where that kind of developed from was, we're in the emergency room and my sister reaches out, calls. And my family's always been this way. They want to do something. And she felt helpless. And she wanted to do something to try to make him feel better. So she asked, hey, can I put a post together on social media to see if it can get to one of the Avengers actors, to get him a postcard or something just to make him feel better? And I thought, sure, no problem. maybe we could make that happen. And we go home that night, and the post had maybe had 200, 300, 400 likes. And I thought, oh, it's getting a little traction. The next morning we check, and it has maybe a few thousand likes. I thought, oh, that's about as much as any post I've seen from any of my friends. There's a lot of good support out there. And then that afternoon, we start getting phone calls from friends living in like Washington, D.C. saying, we just heard your story on the radio. And I thought, oh, so we checked the post again. And at that point, it's well into the hundreds of thousands, approaching 1 million. And I thought at this point, it's one of those viral moments, and we need to come up with a plan. So I start brainstorming with siblings and parents and try to figure out, what do we do from here? And one of the first things we decided we needed to do was come out with a press release. Just there's a huge rush in these viral stories to get the exclusive. And we were getting calls from every media organization that you can imagine from throughout the world wanting that exclusive. And we didn't want that attention for our child as he's trying to heal and recover. So we put out the press release, and in the press release, we very directly say that we won't be asking for anything, because we didn't want this to be about us. We wanted to see what good we could have come from this. So the one thing we did ask people to do, because we know people are kind and they'd want to do something for him, we said, take a picture of your favorite rock and just send us that with the background from where this rock's from, what type of rock it is, and we'll make him a photo album of rocks from around the world.
Wow.
And we set up a P.O. box thinking, oh, we'll start getting some letters with pictures of rocks. And the postal master here in town calls us, and about a day later, and says, we have like a mail truck full of packages for you.
Heavy packages?
And they're heavy. What are people sending you? Rocks? And we're like, yeah, that's probably what they are. Oh my gosh. And not kidding, for 2 months, we would get a mail truck a day full of bags and bags of packages. And kudos to Amazon. The first week was nothing but Amazon packages, because those can get out quick. But we were getting packages from around the world, and he has such a large rock collection now. He has his own curated exhibit at the University of Wyoming School of Geology. Wow. And it's a 20, 30 by 30 room full of museum-grade rock specimens that people send to him. And kind of the theme of the exhibit is, each one of these rocks represents that act of kindness of somebody that went out of their way to try to make a child feel better in a time of darkness and sadness. And it's overwhelming to me still when I walk in there and see the hundreds and hundreds of rocks on display. And they're beautiful. And so many of those moments, we were in tears opening these packages. We got a Medal of Honor or a Medal of Courage from a World War II vet that jumped on a flamethrower during a demonstration. And he said, I had lost hope in humanity. And I heard your story. And for the first time in many years, I feel like there's a future for this world. I want you to have I think it's the Navy and Marine Corps medal. And then somebody sent him a Purple Heart and said, wow, protecting my friend, and I feel like you deserve this. And we don't know who it's from, and it's a mission of mine to try to find out who sent that Purple Heart, so that we can have them up to Wyoming, take them out to dinner, and thank them for. We have a mom whose son died, and she sent Bridger his geology collection because she thought Bridger would appreciate it. And it was just story after story of people who felt that kindred spirit. And it was incredible to see how much goodness there is in the world. Those quiet servers that don't do things for recognition.
Totally.
I do want to mention something here with our particular podcast, why we started this podcast. And in one word, if I had to describe this podcast, it's connection. connecting other human beings and showing, especially professional athletes, that we're all human beings, and those guys and gals are just human beings like the rest of us, and that we want to relate with them and have our audience relate. And what I would say is your act connected so many other people because it brought them to their kindness and sending these rocks and the gifts. And so, wow. I mean,
it's amazing, Bridger.
Yeah, Bridger, thank you
amazing.
so much.
And Robert,
the
way your family
amazing.
has been a steward through this. Yes. I don't know. I'm just sitting here amazed. What tremendous family, what you guys have done. Now that has manifested itself into a couple of charitable operations that you have. Can you talk to those for us and tell us what they're all about, what you're trying to achieve, and if there's anything that we can do to help promote the good that you guys are doing there?
Yeah, one of the first things that we continually got asked after he was hurt was, can we set up a GoFundMe? That's kind of the go-to now is somebody's in need, let's set up a GoFundMe. And we really didn't feel good about it. We knew he'd be taken care of. We knew we'd get through it okay. So we had that conversation with him, and we were in the car one day, and I remember asking him, people are wanting to send you money, and that's an option. And if that's what you want, we can tell them okay. Or we could ask if there's some group that we could have people send money to instead to help other people that maybe are in greater need. And we discussed with him one that we've been fairly familiar with is Mission 22. And that's an organization that's 22 veterans a day commit suicide because they don't have the emotional and spiritual support that they need when they come back from living through traumatic situations. And Mission 22 is an organization that gives them opportunities to be part of smaller communities like jiu-jitsu groups or bowling leagues, or some way to give them a connection to their community so that they don't feel alone. And we discussed that with him, and he felt really good about that. And then another organization we have a great love for is Operation Underground Railroad. And they're an organization that they work throughout the world to stop human trafficking of children. And I can't imagine a more valiant nonprofit than somebody that goes into the darkest corners of the world to protect children from those horrible, horrific situations. So that was what we put in the press release was, instead of giving us money and sending us and worrying about us, please make that donation to one of those organizations in Bridger's name so that those people that are in the darkest moments of their life can have that support that we had already gotten.
Wow. It's very cool. We will post all of those URLs out there for people to look at and to contribute. We hope that you continue to do that great work. It's just phenomenal to me. One bad event has cascaded into an exponential number of positive. It's really incredible, the pearl here that has been created out of such a horrific time. And we definitely feel for you guys and your family, what you've gone through. But wow, you have turned this into such a positive thing that I think you're inspiring people all over the place.
And I think positivity breeds positivity. And I think because he took such a positive approach, it helped us as a family stay positive. And we received so much kindness and positivity and support. It was easy to put that back out in the world. And it's been interesting how a lot of people have made the connection. Even, I think it's Evangeline Lilly is the actress that plays the Wasp. And she just commented recently on a post about Bridger's name. And a number of groups have talked about his name and how appropriate it is, the symbolism of a bridge, connecting us to them, connecting people that maybe normally would have been apart, and how bridges have that overcoming obstacles, overcoming things so that people can connect, and how special that was. And I really loved her comment. We recently shared that on Instagram, the World Boxing Council named a weight class after Bridger, the Bridger weight. And it bridges the heavyweight, the monsters like Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, and the cruiserweight, the guys that are around 200 pounds. And they needed something to fill that gap. So they honored Bridger and Bridger's heritage and history with naming that weight class after him. And he got to meet the first Bridger weight title holder and at a boxing convention in Mexico that they flew him out for. And it's really been incredible. Things that we never would have thought possible. So many kind people out there and we just keep trying to put goodness back out there because we know that's what the world needs.
Wow. I have to ask you, as we wrap up here, what's the story behind the name Bridger?
It's really a regional name. Here in Wyoming, there's a region called Bridger Valley. Mm-hmm. And it's just, we always, when my wife and I were thinking about what to name him, we really wanted to stick with something so his initials would be BMW, so that his nickname could be Beamer, because he was such a smiley little baby. And,
that's so good.
Like this idea of Beamer. So we started looking at regional names, and Bridger is just a very Wyoming, hardy cowboy sort of name.
Love it. Love it. We're going to wrap up with that. Robert and Bridger, thank you so much for joining us here at Life After Fame. You've been a phenomenal guest. We are absolutely grateful and inspired by her. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks, Bridger.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Bridger's exceptional heroism in the face of such a terrifying event has become a profound source of inspiration for people worldwide. It prompts us to reflect upon ourselves and question how we would have reacted in a similar situation, whether we would have acted swiftly, retreated, or found ourselves frozen in fear. His courageous act of saving his sister from a vicious dog attack has stirred a surge of positivity across the globe. This singular act has motivated individuals to respond in their own unique ways, characterized by generosity and kindness. The Walker family has transformed this harrowing incident into something quite extraordinary. As stated on their website, bridgerstrong.org, every act of kindness is considered heroic. If you have a story of your own, a testament to an act of kindness, you are encouraged to share it through the Bridger Walker Challenge on their website. Please feel free to email them at thebridgerchallenge@gmail.com to share your stories. To support Bridger, please visit his website at bridgerstrong.org and consider supporting the charities they are endorsing: the Wounded Warrior Project, Mission 22, the Operation Underground Railroad. These organizations continue to make a profound impact on the lives of those in need. If you have a compelling story of your own or know someone who has experienced their own 15 minutes of fame, we would be thrilled to speak with you and feature you on our show. Please reach out to us via email at joe@lifeafterfamenow.com or visit us on any of our social platforms. We're on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. If you have a story, we'd love to hear about it. On behalf of this week's guest, Bridger and Robert Walker, for my co-host Joe M., I'm Joe B. Thank you so much for your support, and we'll see you again next week.